Hello, thank you for having me. Thank you for this lovely breaking news type of introduction. I really like it. I'm really impressed. I hope my presentation is going to be as impressive as this entry. So my topic is pretty extensive, but in reality, it's going to be simpler. The presentation is going to be simpler than the topic. What I want to talk about, and I want to follow what João was saying, was on how to leverage different data sources in order to get what you want in terms of monitoring, measuring, or identifying energy poor people. These are three different goals you may have depending on who you are, what, let's say, level of administration or NGO you represent. Therefore, you have to be very smart and you have to use our mistakes that we did in Poland, in order to be better and to get the goal that you aspire. So I split my presentation into three parts. First part is using data from statistical office. Second is using administrative data. And third is using survey data. And we did all of these things, and I will show you the example, what are the purposes, and when to use it and when not to use it. So when you look at the data from statistical office, it has very low cost because it's provided by national statistics, so you can access it. It has good methods because they know how to collect data. They have been doing that for all their lives, and they know how to do it, so you can trust them. Usually they cover the whole nation and the regions that are in this nation. You will see it on the example of Poland. And you can use it for measuring and monitoring. This is very important. So if this is your goal, you can go for statistical data. Then you have admin data, which costs the administrative labor, because you will need someone in your office to provide, let's say, researchers or someone, the data that is there in your municipality, in your city, in your region. Maybe you don't know it yet, but it's there. And someone needs to extract it, and someone needs to help researchers to use it. And then goes the second point, which requires a research partner who has a good methods. We hope we have good methods. I hope to prove it in this presentation. What it gives you, for example, it gives you street level data, which is great for identification, as you can see it, because it shows you where are those hotspots that João was saying, where are those places that you can start knocking doors and asking people if they need something in terms of intervention, if they need money to cover their bills, if they need investment to improve their heating sources or whatever. So you can find that. And then you have survey data, which municipalities, at least in Poland, love. They love spending their money on this. And this is like a drug to them. So this is something bad, but they love it. So they shouldn't be doing that. We advise not to do it. If you are a municipality, spend this money on something better. Even, I don't want to say on drugs, because it's not better, but spend it on something other than survey, because you won't get what you want, because you want identification, but you won't get it. You will get maybe measuring, but it's not going to be very useful for that. So I will show you an example how you can use survey data to find out social preferences, which is, better use of this type of method than trying to figure out who is in poverty and where to transfer the money or where to start intervention. So starting from the data from statistical office, what we did in Poland, and João in his presentation was saying a lot about that there needs to be multi-governance, and we listened to him, and we did a multidimensional energy poverty index. Usually you have multidimensional poverty indexes, and they are used in developing countries where you have poor quality data. So where you have poor quality data, what you basically do is you gather a lot of proxy indicators, And you say, okay, if we count those proxy indicators, maybe we can find a person in poverty. And this is what we did in Poland. Poland is a developed country, but data quality is poor. As we don't have the energy efficiency standards, we don't have the energy efficiency agency that's covering all the buildings. So we said, okay, if someone reports that they live in poor housing condition, this is completely subjective. We don't know if it's really related to energy efficiency or maybe they dislike their house. And they say that they live in a house that has inadequate thermal comfort. Maybe there is an issue actually with energy efficiency. So if you build a matrix of deprivations, then you can find areas where those deprivations are present. And this is what we did. This is a map of Poland. We update it every year, and we show where are those areas of deprivation, and we can go inside those regions, and we can say, okay, in this particular region of Poland, you have more issues with those inadequate thermal comfort, poor housing conditions. These are those gray areas. And there are some areas where there is low income and high cost of energy spending, where this is the pressing issue. So we know the characteristics of those regions, and we are happy to share it with all the people in all the municipalities there. The only issue here is that we cannot go lower. So we only can show this information on the regions because this is how the National Statistical Office supports this data. Going forward, based on administrative data, this is a project that C40 is funding for the city of Warsaw. We are working with them. They are supplying us with the municipality administrative data that they have. They know the incomes they don't know. We get it from the National Statistical Office, but they know energy bills, they know building characteristics, they know everything about heating sources, and they know everything about their inhabitants. And they ask us a question. They have 80,000 social buildings in social housing units in Warsaw, and they ask us a question: where to start with thermal retrofits? They don't know how to prioritize those areas of intervention. They don't know where should be the first door to knock on, and they ask us for help, and this is how we are helping. We do a map. This is a map of Warsaw, which is on a grid of 1 kilometer per 1 kilometer. And based on this administrative data of Warsaw, what we can do, we can look at those small squares. As you can see, the big map of Warsaw, then we go, let's say, we zoom in to a smaller square, and then you can see the buildings. The buildings that are inhabited by people are in red. And the area is white because the people that are inhabiting this square have low income. They are in the first quartile of income distribution. So when you look at the maps, the Google Earth, or how the city looks like, you see that those three buildings look like this. This is the actual picture. They are pretty in poor condition. They are requiring an immediate intervention in terms of energy efficiency, and I don't think changing heating source, but you can get it because you can see this map without incomes, for example, but you can see it with heating sources. You can see it with the connection to district heating or to gas heating network. So you know what type of intervention you can plan it, and it's on a very local level because it shows you as this small grid of a city. And going to the last point of the presentation is how to use survey data. As I told you, it's best for social preferences. Right now, the question we are facing in Poland is how to use the money from Social Climate Fund. I don't want to get into details about the Social Climate Fund, but basically it's the revenues from emission trading system that every country can spend how they like. They need to spend 40% on direct transfers and 60% on investment. The question is, should it be like that, 40-60, or maybe it should be 20-80? The question is, or maybe the question is different. How much, if we know how we want to split it, 40-60, the question is how much every person in the country should get, or should we have a means-tested support, so only target low-income people, and so on. So what we did an economics experiment when we asked people what are the goals of the ETS that they like. So maybe it's about limiting climate change impacts or improving air quality, or maybe improving energy security, which is basically the goals of introducing the new tax, which is emission trading system. And we ask them, what is the better way to achieve it? Should it be as a carbon tax plus investment subsidy, or maybe should it be as a carbon tax and a direct transfer? And it had impact on their budgets, and it was randomized, and they did it over and over again. So in reality, they, let's say, consciously or slash a bit subconsciously told us what in reality they want. And the reality looks like this, that basically we know right now what effect you can get when you tax people. So you can see the value of a tax going from 0 to 15%. We know exactly what will be the support of this tax depending on the value of tax. So as you can see, when the value grows, the support goes down. And we know how much you should spend in order to improve the situation, improve the probability that people won't protest this tax. And we say that knowing this information, you can fill this gap, let's say this gap from the low-income people, that their probability to accept this tax and the probability that average person will accept the tax, you can fill this gap with money. And knowing this information, you can plan the transfer, plan the direct transfer that you want to do in Social Climate Fund to be exactly this money. Why is it important? Because this is an optimum spending of public money. Because you see that after some point, it's not worth increasing the amount of money in order to get people on board, because they don't care anymore. So maybe you can spend this money in a different way. Maybe you can invest in social housing. Maybe you can bring more people on board. So instead of increasing the amount of support, you can say, okay, we will go broader and we will give the support to more people. And you can see, this is not on this slide because I have to finish, but you can see the difference between different groups of people supporting direct transfers and subsidies. The key takeaway message is that people with low incomes want to have direct income transfers, and they don't like subsidies. With people with high incomes, this is the other way around. They just want to have incentives in terms of subsidy for, PV or electric car, and they hate direct transfers. So you have to answer a question: who do you care more? Who do you want to convince to support climate policy goals? So if it's low-income people, go for direct transfers. Thank you very much.